welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 110. So happy to be back on with you here on Disrupt Ed TV, here on Voice Ed Radio Canada, and certainly here live on Facebook, as well as out to the social media. So good afternoon, everyone. Excited to get going with today's show. Show number 110 already. Unbelievable. I feel like I just started doing this podcast a few weeks ago, and we're at show number 110, which is pretty cool. We are going to meet Dr. Brian Doelger here in a moment. Dr. Brian is the superintendent and principal out at Shelter Island Schools, way at the tippy end of Long Island. He's a New Yorker, and we're excited to be talking to him. Shelter Island is a place near and dear to my heart. We've been vacationing there for many years now, I think 10, 11 years. My dad's childhood friend owns a home there, John Miller and Gary Kawaga, good friends of ours, and have been blessed to visit Shelter Island. It's a magical place. So I'm going to ask Dr. Brian about the magic and certainly the schools there and the work he's doing. So we'll meet Dr. Brian in a moment. I do want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Rocketbook. They were nice enough. Here is the Andrew Murata Surviving and Thriving Rocketbook. And people have said to me, oh, who's calling me here? Sorry. People have said to me, Andrew, what is the Rocketbook? Can you show me how it works? So this is the Surviving and Thriving Rocketbook. And if you haven't seen one before, it's a reusable notebook, right? And I have wrote a message here. It's fantastic, right? You can take notes. We'll just do a little writing right here. And boom. You can designate where you'd like these to go. So there's spots down here. And then in your cover page, you could designate your email, your Google Drive, Dropbox, different things, your work email, your work drive, things like that. And I've customized a few different ones. I have a few different pages for walkthroughs, for different things that I use in school, for personal things, a goal sheet. I have all those. And then you scan it. You get the app on the phone, you can scan it, and it goes to that drive. You won't lose your notes anymore. And then it's fantastic. It's a reusable notebook. It goes away. And then, boom, you have a fresh new page that you can use again, and you don't have to constantly be replacing things. So I find it very useful, and I have these on my website, and they're very helpful. So if you're interested, check it out on andrewmurata.com. And this is the Andrew Murata Surviving and Thriving Rocketbook. I appreciate them helping out the program here and sponsoring the program. So let's get started. Again, it's show number 110. We're going to meet Dr. Doelger in a moment. And here, just a few weeks before Christmas, it was unbelievable, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas, and how quick it is. We lost a week in there, but we're just a couple of weeks away from Christmas. And I got thinking about what we were going to open with and talk about it. Right, we're always telling our kids, right? Santa is watching. Now with these elves, right? The elf is watching. He's going to go report back. And we as school leaders, we're under the same microscope, right? We are always being watched. And that's a concept that I've learned as a school leader and through my life as a former referee, of being on camera and being taped. And everything that we do, all of our actions are recorded. And we have to have that mindset, not being afraid, not walking around on eggshells, but have that mindset of that we are being watched. And it comes with that responsibility. One of the things I'm going to ask Dr. Doelger about, working in such a small community, right? Everyone knows who the principal and the superintendent is, right? In that community, it's such a small community. So he's definitely being watched. And you're being watched when you're in your car. You're being watched when you're at the store. You're being watched here on podcasts. How you treat people, how you talk to people, your body language, your energy, all of those things. So Santa is always watching for kids, right? But us as school leaders, everyone's always watching. The kids, the parents, the community members, and you're not just a principal 9 to 5 or whatever 7 to 3, right? You're not just a principal. You're the principal all the time. So you have to be mindful of that. And that's 12 months a year for us, right? It's not just October, November, December. It's 12 months that we're under watch. And in the world we live in today with cameras and all of that kind of stuff, it's something that we have to be mindful of. So here in the Christmas season, right, with the elves watching, our name is George, the elf at my home. always reporting back. Well, we have those same people reporting on us as school leaders, and be mindful of it. So that's my opening concept. I am at Andrew Murata 21, certainly on Twitter. And if you're watching live, I see we have some viewers watching. My biggest fan is watching. Hi, Mom. Mr. Desco from Port Jervis is watching. And she's right. Yeah, the kids are always watching the adults. They're always sizing us up. But if you are watching live and you have a question for myself or Dr. Doelger, please put that on there. Without further ado, we'd like to welcome in from Shelter Island, New York, Dr. Doelger. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to spend some time with you this afternoon.
Fantastic. Shelter Island, and Dr. Doelger, you're in your first 4 months, 5 months on the job. Give us a quick introduction, and then tell us how is it like to be back there as superintendent.
Sure. It's really, as you said, Andrew. This is one of the great places, really, in the country to be. From its natural beauty to really the beauty of the people that are here and the beauty of the community that is here, and all I'm sure just from being here for the summer for your vacation, you'll meet people here that are famous artists, that are famous engineers from New York City, famous actors, actresses, former governors, and they just live here sort of anonymously, but are always willing to help out at the school. So it's a wonderful place, and it's been a great couple months here. I'm sure, as you probably have had there too. I came in with a 100-day plan of the things you want to get done, and really, stick to a script when you're first starting at a place. And what's nice about the timing of this interview is it's right sort of at the end of those 100 days. So I had a bunch of things I wanted to do, mostly, in a new place, you'd want to acquaint yourself with anyone, but this had mostly for me been reacquainting with many people, but also building relationships with people that I had not known yet, through all different parts of the community, all different stakeholders, church leaders, government leaders, just getting to know them, getting to know what they think of our school system. And one of the things that we've come up with as a school is to form this academic committee where we are going to issue a survey out of to interview the various stakeholders of the school to see what they think we do good and some of the things that they think we could improve upon, and then build, through this year, build goals going forward so we could be the best school possible. We're an amazing school here, but we want to continuously improve and be the best school possible.
Absolutely. And Brian, was that something that was on your initial list, is to have form an academic committee? Was that something that was on your first 100 days?
Yeah, well, it was to more broadly to improve academic instruction, to make sure that's spot on there. And then through discussions with the board, we decided that it would be great to, as you know, Andrew, the people that are, and out there doing the stuff every day, the teachers, they know what's best of how to improve things.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, myself and the board decided, in improving academic instruction, that we really need to have the teachers play a large part of that.
Absolutely. What were some other things, Brian, that if you can share, that was on that first 100 days for you to make an impact on that school community?
Sure. Mainly building the relationships with the people, establishing relationships, the academic instruction, and also improving communication was an immediate goal of mine to get the word out there of all the great things we do to the people, to the different community members. We do a lot of great things, but not everything was always gets out there, all the great things we do. So to improve communication with the various stakeholders as well, like our seniors, we're trying to outreach to our seniors, have kids write letters to them. We're trying, people that aren't directly related to the school, which is a pretty significant portion of our population, we're trying to reach out to and let them know all the great things we do. Cool.
And it is a unique place, Shelter Island, that you're so isolated, right? It's just, right. It's that, and if they don't have children, right, how do you continue to build that connection to the school? So that's fantastic. Yeah. Brian, you heard the opening concept, here Santa's watching a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Sure.
What were your thoughts on that as a school leader and somebody who's in a small community? What were your thoughts on that concept?
Well, my first thought is that we're a unique system here. As you visited the building, right, Andrew? So you're
Oh yeah.
familiar with it. So we're a district, but also a single school building district.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
as you mentioned, I'm not only the superintendent, but I'm also the principal of the building. So there's sort of dual roles there. So the union president has been putting an elf on the shelf around the school building that looks like me and is named Dr. Doelger. So currently, I'm all over the building watching the different kids. So that's the first thing that popped in my head. But in all seriousness, I think our one of our main jobs as leaders is to show a moral leadership to our staff, to our community, to our kids. I believe in leading by example. That that yes, it's definitely important to do things the right way while people are watching us, but I pride myself on trying to always even do that when no one is watching us, to always treat people with dignity and respect. Um, and yeah, so I think yes, but to your point, especially here, it's probably a more visible position than elsewhere because there's really, in larger districts, there's many administrators, whereas here there's three of us, and I'm the top administrator. So there is sort of a spotlight on me and what I do. But I think if you lead in a moral way with and show values and you're a caring person, a kind person, you treat everyone with dignity. I think, and leading by example, I think that takes care of itself.
I agree with you. Great answer,
Thank you.
Brian. For those that don't know, like, how big is the school? I know it's a K-12 building
Uh,
there. What?
right.
How big is it?
We're a K-12 building. We have like different wings. We have an elementary wing where we house our pre-K through fifth grade. We used to have a middle school and a high school wing, but that configuration was changed by a prior superintendent, Dr. Hines, who is one of my role models, and I taught here under him while he was a superintendent. He
Mhm.
switched the middle school and the high school into two different houses, a humanities wing and a STEM wing. So they have the different focuses of the academic disciplines. But it's really like three separate areas, three separate academic areas: the elementary, the humanities, and the STEM now.
Okay.
And also then we have a gym area with an art room and all the special area type rooms. But yeah, so there's about, I'd say, 40 rooms here in the building.
Okay.
We have a teaching staff of about 50, a total staff of about 70.
And Brian, being that it's so small, how do you continue to grow as a district? How do you continue to advance when it might be more challenging to get resources? Or I might be wrong. Maybe it is easier to get resources because you are smaller. What is your take on that? Such a small district. How do you continue to advance
Sure.
forward without
Sure.
having like the big tidal wave of resources and such?
Of yeah, and of constant reform that we have to constantly respond to. Yeah, so being a small district and being a former teacher here, you're automatically sort of forced to be a teacher leader. So you're almost a quasi administrator as a teacher here. You have to get a lot of your own resources in some cases. At least that was the way when I was a teacher here. I'm trying to change that a little bit by providing. We try to get our teachers to go to all different sorts of professional development opportunities throughout Long Island. We send teachers out all the time. We have specialist trainers come in to work with our teachers. I do K-12, like team building things and things that apply to them. And then I'm also meeting with them on a more individualized level to work with them on different things they could do. And one thing that Dr. Hines actually started that goes on in the STEM house now, but that I'm working with Mrs. Rylot, one of our other administrators, on bringing back next year, is to give the teachers a chance to have a common planning period every other day. So the social studies teachers can meet with each other, the English teachers, the science teachers, math teachers. They could meet with each other, talk with each other, collaborate with each other. And, I believe certainly in the importance of professional development and professional development that I could provide, outsiders could provide. But I think teachers learn best from themselves. So we're trying to give them the opportunity to learn as much as they can from themselves and to turnkey stuff and ideas like that. But certainly it is a challenge, but also an opportunity, I think.
And again, another unique aspect, Brian, people, do they live on the island? Like what percentage of the staff lives on the
Uh,
island?
so there's as you could probably test to on the summer. I think you hear various estimates. So there's probably about 13 to 15,000 people here on the summer. In the winter, that shrinks to about 2 to 3,000 people. We have about 210 kids in the school. And I'd say staffing wise, it's about 50-50, I'd say, of half the people live on the island, half the people are commuting and taking the ferry each day, myself being one of those people. And I don't know, well, you probably haven't seen the weather report here. So we have a potential snow early in the morning. So
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out how that commute's going to look like and what's going to happen with that.
everyone looks at the weather, and it always comes down to the superintendent.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, making those calls. Brian, what's it like been for you, for an educator, to be somewhere, right, where you taught, and now you're coming back as a leader? Like, what are some things that, because you went somewhere else, a couple different spots, and now you came back, what are some things that you're bringing back with you there with a different lens now that you've left Shelter Island and now come back in a different role?
Right. I had the opportunity to work in three really large school districts as an assistant principal, a principal, elementary and middle school, and also as a district level administrator in a very large district. So I think I'm able to bring that more global picture of the way things work in larger districts here, and some of the and bring some of the many good things that work in larger places, but also, I'm able to remind people of some of the wonderful strengths we have being a smaller district here, and what a great education they get here. So, different programs. Just being part of a larger district, I've had as an administrator a lot of professional development in many different things, and observations, and providing professional development, and reading training, math training. That may not be available to me as an administrator here that I was able to experience from there. So I think as a sort of a general answer, I'm able to sort of bring the expertise from those larger places where you have more responsibilities or opportunities for administrative professional development, but also to bring an appreciation of how good of an education the kids get here, and how nice it is to work here as well.
Yeah. It really is a magical place, and we're not just saying that. If you've never visited Shelter Island, whether you're a New Yorker or not, I highly recommend it. It really is it's a special place. How about for you personally, Brian? You mentioned a mentor of yours, former superintendent there, Dr. Hines. Who are some other mentors in your life, and what are some
Sure.
characteristics that they've given you along the way?
Sure. So the former, speaking about the many treasures that we have here on Shelter Island, one of them is the former superintendent of Longwood School District, Dr. Gerstenlauer, who may have been here, Andrew, when you stopped by. He also served as the interim in between the prior superintendent and myself.
Okay.
He lived on the island, and Longwood, if you're not familiar with it, is one of the largest school districts on Long Island, and he ran that district for 10 years, and he's very high, well regarded and whatnot. So the board loved him in the interim role, so they asked me if I'd be interested in having him stay on as a mentor. So in the beginning, first couple of months, we would meet almost on a weekly basis for an hour. Now he spends his, he's retired and he worked and he deserves it, so he spends his much of his winter down in Florida. So now we have like a weekly phone call, or if there's something I just want to ask him. There's actually an issue that came up 2 days after I started, that I called him, and he just, he said, he gave me advice: speak to the board about it and think very carefully before. And it was just great advice. Dealing with experts like that, Dr. Hines is in my network that I reach out to all the time. He's a wonderful guy. He's a visionary leader. My former superintendents, Dr. Gerald in Middle Country, I speak to her all the time, and she really is a great resource. The Suffolk County Superintendents Association, we have almost a meeting every other week, and we go there, and they run an academy for the new superintendents. I'm the first to say that I don't know it all, and I think I'm pretty good at what I'm doing so far because I'm willing to reach out to help from those who've been through what I'm going through now, and also just to have the expertise of all the different people in different communities on the island. So
Very cool. Yeah, cool. How about hiring, Brian? Hiring is a great thing to improve your school and get new people. One of the things I like to say is, right, we don't hire people to get in line. We hire people to form new lines and form new paths.
Sure.
With the uniqueness of Shelter Island, do you have to look at things a little differently about, trying to make sure someone's going to come and stay? Like, how does that work for you?
Sure. Well, one of the considerations we have to make when we screen people here more than elsewhere is it's a long and sometimes difficult commute for people because you not only probably have a ride distance wise, but you're also getting on a boat every day, and so we certainly have to look for that. I was in charge of hiring for the Riverhead School District, and as I mentioned, it's a large district, so I was able to get a lot of good hiring techniques there. One of the things, the most important thing I ever look for when hiring someone is that they love kids. I think that's the most important thing we could find, whether it's an administrator, a teacher, a secretary, a custodian. I think the most important value that a candidate could have while in education is that they love children. We could teach our teachers content. We could teach them classroom management type stuff. So long as that loving kids is the most important part for them.
I agree 100%. What are some other things you look for, Brian, when you're meeting, new talent? Whether it's something that jumps off the resume or something that they'll say, in addition to obviously that they love being around kids and they love teaching kids. What are some other things that you look for, whether it's leadership or something on that resume that are definite check boxes for you?
Sure. My theory also on resumes is, and in our area, it's not always possible to interview every person that submits a resume because depending on the position, we could have 200 resumes for a thing. But I think it's important to definitely interview as many people as possible because I think not always the resume says everything. And sometimes also, the best interviews don't become the best teachers if a person is nervous or whatever. But certainly qualities that I look for during interviews would be number one, as I said, the love for children, compassion, certainly content knowledge, especially when you're, interviewing a physics teacher or a chemistry teacher or a specialized area type teacher. They got to know their stuff, and that's probably something I can't teach them is chemistry or physics, but so definitely content specialty, a willingness to work, I think is really important. A willingness to go the extra mile for teachers to stay after school. I think it's really important, especially like a smaller district here when we're interviewing people. I want to know what they know about Shelter Island to see if people cared enough to do the research and to be able to tell us about stuff that's on our website and things like that. I think that's important to me. It was important to us in my prior districts too. People, people take pride in their community. They want to know that people took the time to try to learn about it.
And there's so much stuff online, right? When they don't know much about the community, you're like, really? You couldn't do a simple Google search and read a couple of articles?
Yes, exactly.
It was nice to meet you. Keep moving. Brian, again, you've made this big step now, superintendent, and you've mentioned some of the other roles you've had. How about you personally? How do you sharpen your saw? What are some things that you do for your own personal development in the areas of leadership and education?
Sure. I love to read. I love to read all about education type stuff. As we mentioned, prior to coming on, I'm not the biggest social media guy in terms of like friendly type stuff, but I love to use Twitter for professional development stuff and read some of the articles on there and to really sharpen this. So I just started, I'm going to be teaching a college course in a couple of months as well on research and methodology. So I'm starting to do some research to be able to teach that course. Just constantly reading newspaper articles as well, or journal articles on pedagogical type developments, I think is important. Speaking with people, it's important. I love going to conferences. I was at a couple of great conferences, learning about different things. So also those superintendents meetings are a great way to sharpen the saw and throw ideas around people. The mentorship is a big part of it as well. So I think a little bit of everything is great.
Yeah. And using social media to learn, the podcast here, I've learned so much from so many different leaders. It's fantastic. How about your mornings, Brian? Great leaders, really do a great job with their time.
Yes.
Tell me a typical morning. I know you have a commute in front of you.
Sure.
What are you doing on that commute? And then what are the first, few things that you do when you get to school?
Sure. So Andrew, I wanted to tell you this. Dr. Hines, who's one of my mentors, but also one of my really good friends. This is like his type of thing, is self-discipline. And so he's up every morning at 4 a.m. Because he spends, I think, a good hour on just like taking a walk and thinking about the day and stuff like that. I'm not quite on that level yet. But I do wake up by 5:30 every morning, and I try to spend about 10 to 15 minutes just having a cup of coffee, sometimes walking, and just trying to think about the day ahead. I meticulously keep a calendar online on my phone, so I know where to be all the time. I'm also really lucky to have, and I know you've talked to her a couple times, an amazing administrative assistant and district clerk, Jackie Dunning, who helps me stay on task and make sure I'm always where I need to be. This time of the year, as you I'm sure know, Andrew, I think this is the only night this week where I don't have a night event, so this worked out perfectly. But last night we had a board meeting. Tomorrow night we have a concert. The next night we have a concert. Then we have a PTA event on Friday night, and you're burning the candle on both ends at this time.
PTA on Friday night. Who allowed that?
And some sort of dance or something like that. That I'm just stopping into. But good point. It wouldn't be a meeting. But I think to your point, what you may be getting at too is that it's important for us to make sure we schedule some personal time in there where we have stressful jobs and we're dealing with sometimes a lot of high stress situations, and you also need that time to sort of to relax and vent and to just take care of yourself, really. So I think it's important, obviously, to professionally to manage your schedule meticulously, but also personally to make sure you leave some time in there to make sure that you stay sane a little bit.
Yeah, it is, and those times are precious when you can do that. I've been working on this morning thing, trying to exercise in the morning, and I hear these great people. I gets up at 4, like when you do that, like 7 o'clock, you're like ready to fall asleep. I hear you, and it's inspiring to hear that, and I think it is important as leaders. Brian, we're going to get you home here because this is one of the nights you can. Let's get to the rapid fire. These are quick answers, sure. Brian. You're a New Yorker, so I know you'll be able to do it.
Sure.
Last book you read?
So I have it here with me. We're doing a book talk on this. It's How to Talk So Kids Can Learn. There's a lot of great stuff in there. My faculty and I are reading it. It's speaking to kids and finding ways. We're working with staff to always be de-escalating as adults, never escalating a situation. Also, I have to give a plug out to your great book here. I just started to dig into this, which is a great book. Really, it has a lot of practical points in there, so I'm enjoying that as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for the shout out.
No problem.
How about the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw, actually, my wife and I watched Die Hard last night because we were looking for a Christmas movie, and it's sort of Christmassy, but also sort of a movie. So we were watching that. Yeah.
It ends the debate there. Is it a Christmas movie? Your favorite place to travel? You work in a great place. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Definitely Ireland. I'm actually a dual citizen of Ireland. My wife lived there for a year, studied there for a year. We went on our honeymoon there. We go back almost every year. Yeah, so definitely Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And you know what? You could shelter island with the water. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Very simple. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Good for you.
Yeah.
I had a great experience there too. I grew up in an Italian household, but my mom's side and I have a love of Ireland. That's great to hear, man.
I'll
Cool.
tell you though, Andrew, the food in Italy is much better than the Irish food.
I won't argue with you on that. How about a podcast you listen to? I know you're a subscriber to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, but where is somewhere else that you go to for?
My wife and I don't know if you've ever listened to them though. The Dateline murder mystery podcasts. They're just really good stuff. So we listen to them all the time. My in-laws live about 3 hours away, so whenever we're on those trips and my trip on in here, we're always listening to those murder mystery type podcasts. Yeah,
something that motivates
ones too, but yeah,
something that motivates you.
Really, what motivates me is doing good for people. That's why that's what I come to work each day, is to try to do good for the kids and the staff that work here. And that's what I think about at the end of the day, is how I could have done better. So doing good for people. Great
answer. Pet peeve of yours?
I don't know if I should say it or not, but people that chew with their mouth full.
I've been guilty. When we're in the hallway having lunch on the move, it happens sometimes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
It's funny. I was and just thinking about this. I don't know if you've ever read it, but I would have to go with the book "A Team of Rivals" by Doris Kearns Goodwin. It's just something that has sort of taught me about history. I'm a former history teacher, but also about leadership, about taking the advice of others, especially those you don't always agree with. So yeah, I would say that book.
Okay. Something about Brian Doelger that people do not know, other than he's a dual citizen.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm a dual citizen. Let me see. What was I? This people may not know that I'm a big Bravo fan, and I love the Real Housewives series.
The Real Housewives of Shelter Island. Is that an episode yet? I am a fan of blank in Shelter Island.
Father Peter. I don't know if you met him while you were here, but he is a legend on the island. He goes to everything. He was the first guy waiting for me when I got my job here. And yes, I'm a big fan of Father Peter DeSantis.
Cool. What's been something that has been a challenge for you, a personal hurdle or a professional hurdle, Brian?
Yeah, the biggest hurdle I've had since going into administration is not being able to teach on a daily basis. I love being in the classroom, and so as you probably know, on some bad days, you go in with the intentions of trying to get in every room and whatnot, and then the day actually happens and you're dealing with different issues. So the biggest hurdle for me as a professionally has definitely been not being able to get in the classroom and teach like I used to, because I just love teaching, and I think as administrators, we always should remember what it's like to be a teacher, and that it's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And I tell people that say that you're still teaching, right? You're just teaching a little differently.
Exactly.
Your classroom's a little bit bigger. You've been teaching here today. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
You got through your first 4 months here. Talk to me about the next 4 to 5 months, your second half of the year. What are some goals that you're hoping to accomplish?
Sure. So now that right now, when we come back in January, we're going to start getting results of the surveys we send out, and to build some school level goals off that. So I want to come up to finish the assessment, the strategic assessment of the school, start building those goals off the results of the surveys. And also something that we just had a board retreat here a couple of weeks ago. And over the next 3 to 5 months, by the summer, really, we really want to get some board goals, some Board of Education goals here. So that's a major goal of ours. It's something that's not really happened here in a while. And the board has been really working hard to learn about each other, to learn about the district, and to also really build some top goals as a district, as a Board of Education, that could sort of come down. So I could build my goals off that, so that the teachers could build their goals off my goals, the administrators can, and all the way down the line. Yeah.
And how about 3 to 5 years, Brian, either professionally or personally? What was some goals that you have?
Sure. Well, I definitely want to be here for the long haul at Shelter Island. I think one of the things that has been tough here is there's been a little turnover in leadership over the past couple of years. So over the next 3 to 5 years, I definitely want to be here on the island. we're going to come up with a long-term strategic plan with our goals off the board goals. We're working on an academic plan through our academic committee that's going to go out over the 5 years. I'm working with our buildings and grounds chief to work on a building plan to look at all the different stuff we have to update. And really just overall, I want to help this district improve academically, but also to make us one of the best districts around, because we certainly have the potential here.
Yeah. Well, my kids love the playground in the back there. I don't know if they're supposed to be playing, but they love it. So they give that the thumbs up.
And I think we're going to be redoing the tennis courts and possibly the basketball courts. So maybe by next summer when you come back, they may even have some more things to play with.
We always come over after the Shelter Island Bucks game, so we'll take you up.
Oh, great, yeah, yeah, and make sure you come in and visit. I'd love to meet you in person too, Andrew.
Absolutely, Brian. Let's end on a quote here. You did a great job. Sure. I love your energy here, and again, the way you're celebrating your school. What's a quote that you have that you can leave us with?
Sure. It's one that stuck with me and also the staff from the How to Talk So Kids Can Learn. It's you can acknowledge a student's feelings while not condoning their behavior. And I think that's always important for us today to realize that kids are coming to us with all different problems and social media type stuff and whatnot, and they're misbehaving. But it's important for us as educators when we speak with them that we can say, "Oh yes, I know you're upset, and I acknowledge you're upset, and you should be upset," without acknowledging or condoning that the bad behavior that came along with that feeling.
Awesome. That's a great book. I jotted that down too. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. But good for you and your staff reading that. Brian, I appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy guy, and
oh no, it's my pleasure, Andrew. It was a great time. It was a pleasure.
Well, we'll definitely connect in the summer, and hang on the line. I'm coming out to Long Island here in the new year, so we'll stay on the line here a second. But we're going to wrap up now. This is Brian Doelger, everyone, superintendent and principal in Shelter Island, New York. Check it out. It's a great place to visit, and certainly I know Brian will welcome you into the school there. Brian, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
All right, we're going to sign off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. Get my music going there. There we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am at Andrew Marotta 21 on Twitter. If I can help you out in any way, thank you so much for tuning in to Education, Leadership, Beyond. If you are curious about that rocket book, check it out. There it is, everyone, on my website, andrewmarotta.com. This was show number 110. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Continue to go out and do great work in your schools and your community.